Hi everyone, welcome to After Dark Analysis. On today's Why Is This a Thing, we are going to deal with what is debatably the most quintessential horror of the horror things, slashers. So why does the slasher resonate with us? Why is this the quintessential horror thing? When you talk to people about horror movies, 9 times out of 10 they start explaining a slasher, if they're explaining a problem or just some kind of stylistic thing. Well, there's a couple reasons for that, and let's start out with kind of a small history of the slasher. It tends to take its roots in 60s and 70s giallo horror from Italy. Friday the 13th 1 and 2 has drawn parallels to A Bay of Blood, Scream 2 drew parallels to Bird with Crystal Plumage, and even Halloween took the POV giallo type stance with Michael Myers for a few scenes. So why do we call them slashers? Well, the answer to that is pretty simple. They typically use knives or other weapons of opportunity. Now, you're probably thinking, well, isn't just shooting somebody faster and easier? And yeah, for the most part, it kind of would be. But it would create more complications outside of the murder. Guns are very, very loud. So even if you're kind of in a more remote area, if a neighbor can hear a gun being shot, they're probably going to call the cops unless they're living in an area where guns shoot off regularly. Not to mention you have to learn to shoot the thing, the person's probably running, you have to be a halfway decent shot to pull it off. Knives, on the other hand, are a lot more accessible. How many times have we seen the killer or intended victim walk into the kitchen and grab a knife? While we all know that knives are sharp and dangerous, they're an everyday object. They are something we need to cut stuff up. That, coupled with the fact a lot of slashers will just grab something like a lamp or some kind of wood off of a table leg or something like that. Victims will do it as well to defend themselves. We take these everyday objects and create a horror element around them. Of, yeah, I can seriously hurt you with this if I were so inclined. This gives us a sense of relatability of, oh my god, I have that in my house. I'm looking around my room right now. People could kill me with X, Y, and Z. It gives us a sense of paranoia and distrust about our surroundings. This sense of paranoia and distrust is amplified by the fact that most slashers seem normal. They blend in. And that's the way it is with serial killers. They typically don't raise a lot of suspicion. The reason for that is you want to blend in. You want to be able to go where you want, do the bad things you want to do. So you get this wolf in sheep's clothing walking among people because slashers tend to take one of two bends. Either it's somebody that everybody knew or was aware of, like the Scream franchise, urban legend, or it's somebody that is related to the situation, but only in their insane, crazy thought pattern. Something like Nightmare on Elm Street is a good example of this. In the sequels, Freddy kept going after the Elm Street children. So, while they weren't connected directly to what happened to Freddy and what he was trying to avenge, they did have some lineage and bloodline that connected them back to what happened to him. And there's no way they would have known that had Freddy not started harassing and attacking them. So again, it's a connection that makes sense when you put it through an insane filter. Because this feeds on an already pretty big sense of distrust. People tend not to fully trust strangers, and nor should you. You don't know what people are thinking. You don't know their backstories all the time. You don't know what they're intending to do. Even your best friend can stab you in the back, because you never fully can tell what's going on in somebody else's mind. Hell, there are people that barely know what's going on in their own mind. This is echoed in the fact that most slashers will wear a mask. In Friday the 13th Part 2, Jason wore the bag, then he switched to the hockey mask, and we just kind of keep seeing this go with Scream and Halloween. Even killers that don't wear masks, like we assume Billy in Black Christmas didn't wear a mask, but we never saw his face, so we don't know. There's always something obscuring us seeing the killer until they reveal themselves or the intended victim forces a reveal to happen, like Scooby-Doo. Masks are nerving as well because, again, it's playing on that paranoia of you never fully know what's going on behind somebody else. Also, just from a murder standpoint, You don't want your victims to know who you are. Reason being is if they escape, they can tell the cops and say, hey, it was so-and-so, I saw their face. So feeding on these very base fears of just never fully knowing what's going on with somebody else and what's going on in somebody else's mind, and taking the every man for himself idea of no one's gonna help you. While we do have groups of survivors try and help each other stay, there always is that one jerk that runs away and gets killed faster than everybody else as sort of a punishment for trying to pull every man for themselves. As a species, even if the most introverted people tend not to want to be completely alone 100% of the time, we are social creatures to some extent. Well, I'm sure I'm going to have a bunch of introverts argue with me on that. I understand. I got you. But if you break it down, complete and total isolation does tend to hurt our psyche. So we always kind of have to go out on a limb and hope the people we surround ourselves with have the same heart as us. While I'm sure everybody listening to this has experienced some kind of betrayal, that's what we're afraid of, and that's what we have to be putting ourselves out there to be hurt by. Is, yeah, we can isolate, but that's not going to be productive. It's probably not going to do us any good. So we have to kind of keep putting ourselves out there no matter how small the group is. Everybody has a potential to hurt you. Everybody has the potential to do something that you don't like. Not necessarily to the extent of stabbing you. If your friends are trying to stab you, I really would recommend new friends. That's definitely not a good thing. So the slasher plays on this dichotomy of we don't want to be alone, but at the same time, it's very hard to trust people and not to want to be completely alone. Thank you for listening. If you like what you're hearing, please hit like, comment, subscribe. I absolutely love feedback. If you don't like what you're hearing, again, I absolutely love feedback. I love hearing you guys when you correct me or want something different. Thank you.